Hello, everyone. Welcome to the session, What's New in Tizen? My name is Hobum. I'm from Samsung. Today, I'm super excited because yesterday, the latest Tizen 5.5 has been just released, and this is the first time to speak about new features in Tizen 5.5. Thank you. So before we get into the main topic, let me introduce myself a little bit. I work as a lab leader in Tizen platform team at Samsung Research in Seoul, Korea. So we are developing and maintaining open source Tizen project. So everything I talk here today is fully available at Tizen.org. I'm also the leader of Tizen .NET project. So I will speak about updates on both on platform side and also developer environment side, mainly focusing on Tizen.NET. So let's get started with setting agenda first. So in this session, we have 3 speakers. I will tell you about Tizen 5.5 update, and then I will ask David from Microsoft to tell you about what is happening in .NET 5 and also Xamarin.Forms. There are also some happenings with Samsung. Okay. And then Diego from Samsung will come up to the stage and show you some live coding with Tizen.NET tools. And then after that, some Q&A. But we have 3 speakers here. If we don't have enough time, I'll be standing right outside the room to get Q&A. And also, you can visit Tizen Samsung booth. I'll be there standing all day long today, by the end of today. So if you have any questions, suggestions, proposals, just come to the booth, and I'll be there standing and waiting for you without any break, no water, no restroom, just visit, okay? So first, what is Tizen? Tizen is open source OS maintained by Samsung. Since 2012, we designed and developed an optimized Tizen platform to run on smart consumer electronic device and the wearable devices. You may know Tizen as OS for Samsung Smart TVs and Galaxy Watches, but there are many more devices running Tizen. For example, Family Hub Smart Refrigerator and Smart Signage, air conditioners, and Flipboard. So there are more than 130 million Tizen devices in the world. So if you are starting business, please consider Tizen for your next deployment target, because now we have enough volume to start Tizen ecosystem. So let's see how Tizen is evolving. In Tizen 4.0, we added Tizen.NET. We wanted to provide more convenient developer environment, and also we optimized Tizen to fit in IoT device. So we optimize the core frameworks, and we create a way to create images more easily. And in Tizen 5.0, we want Tizen device to run as many services as possible. That include Samsung services like Bixby, SmartThings, and Samsung Cloud. So in Tizen 5.5, what we are focusing is intelligent and connected. I choose 5 new updates today, so let's visit one by one. The first one is watch face complication API. Watch face complication is small graphical user interface on watch face. You can see on the red box. It shows information like step count, heart rate, or game scores. You may add complication using Gear Watch Designer tool. That is probably the easiest way to add complication. But the limitation of complication in Gear Watch Designer, it only have predefined complication. I got a lot of VOC to add custom way to provide custom complication. So we added C and C# APIs for that. We defined watch face complication consumers and also providers we defined protocol and we defined XML file to make things easier for application developers. So to give you some outlook how it works, we define these complication types, such as short test, long test, images. So whenever provider has some update, it sends notification to the complication, and the watch face should update the image or text to show the updated information. We also added watch face editor API, which can be later used for tools to update complication dynamically on watches and on mobile device. That's the beauty of the watch complication API. Next one is adding on-device machine learning API to Tizen. On-device machine learning API is arguably the most requested API in Tizen 5.5. So we added two types of machine learning API for single API and pipeline API. The single API is obvious. We have a single input and single output with only one neural network model to make inference. And we also added pipeline ML API for the more complex case using data stream from camera or even the multiple data input case. In this case, also there are multiple neural network models involved. So engineers at Samsung try to solve how to solve these issues more smartly. So actually, if you are using multiple data sources, it is kind of hard to synchronize and also remove bottleneck for performance. So we take a look at the GStreamer, which is the multimedia framework famous in Linux world for almost 20 years. And it provides very well-defined multi-pipeline architecture with the plugin filter can be installed. And we modified GStreamer to treat the neural network model process as one of the filters. So this can set up multi-neural network pipeline really easily. So if you want to know more about this NNStreamer, which is the engine of Tizen ML API, please visit another SD session about NNStreamer. And this time we only support TensorFlow Lite, and later version of Tizen will support more neural network frameworks. So next one is about web. Web is also an important part of Tizen, and this time we added multi-device distributed web processing. So that enables low-end device like watches to ask more powerful mobile or TV device to render more complex web contents. We also make this really easy to detect idle other device. So please, this YouTube site, it shows demo with the watches and mobile device. And we open source this in GitHub as a separate project. We named it CasterNet. So if you are interested in this project, please visit. On the right, we are showing we are using more and more open source technology. So this time we added WRT.js, which is a JavaScript-based web application runtime. And it provides more add-ons so you can easily add more plugins. And we are now adding service application based on Node.js. Now we new Visual Studio Code extension for Tizen web application is available at the marketplace in Visual Studio Code. So if you like to use Visual Studio Code instead of Eclipse-based Tizen Studio, you just download this extension and you can use all the beauty things of Visual Studio Code. And also, we are adding new UI controls for Tizen web application. For example, for supporting 3D widgets, and also for cover flow, and also easier way to show graphs on web applications. Now, this is the update I've been looking forward for many years. This is about new Tizen-based IoT products outside Samsung. a company in Korea named Sigma Delta Technology. They created 5 open hardware platforms using Tizen IoT profile, both headed and headless. And then one of the famous massage chair company, Kojima, they use this open hardware to control this massage chair. Fortunately, you can experience this massage chair on the booth in Tizen IoT here in SDC. So they use Tizen.net to create applications, and the beauty of Tizen IoT profile is it has all the things already done to connect Bixby and SmartThings. So you can use the voice control of Bixby to control the massage chair, and then you can see the robot vacuum cleaner in SmartThings network can be controlled using this board. So next one is developer environment. Earlier, as I mentioned, I'm also the project leader of Tizen.net project. So this time, I will update new things in Tizen 5.5. So previously on Tizen.net, I liked this kind of previously things on TV shows, so I added to my slide. So we introduced C# language, which provide advanced features, and also we ported more than 30,000 .NET standard API, and also we provide Visual Studio tools for Tizen for developer to give most advanced and familiar environment. And then we adapted Xamarin.Forms UI framework to create application UI really easily. And also because of the cross-platform nature of Xamarin, you can port Android and iOS application to Tizen really easily. And because you are making applications on Samsung device, we provide circular UI and TV control UI, which is following the UI principles of Samsung devices. And also we added Tizen FX, which is a device API for full access to the Samsung devices. That was story until last year. I had a session here in SDC about what's new in Tizen.net. And this year I'm doing what's new in Tizen. So I consider myself kind of promoted. It's okay. So what is happening now? I'm really excited to tell you. There are apps built with Tizen.net in Galaxy Store. Last year, I proudly announced now you can register Tizen.net application to Galaxy Store. So these are the applications, some of the applications built in Tizen.net. And if you want to see how actually it runs, please visit the booth in TechAce, which is near Samsung Tizen booth. We shows these 2 applications written in Tizen.net. First one is a Ring Doorbell Viewer with a video view, and also Uber app, previously written in web and now ported to Tizen.net. So if you have any questions and you need technical support, please add your questions to developer.samsung.com. And we have a lot of engineers. We look at the issues you added on this website. So this is the best place you can put any technical support for any Tizen development. The device we are talking here is 2 Galaxy Watch device, which support Tizen.net. So any device above Tizen 4.0 can run Tizen.net application, but currently this Galaxy Watch and the Galaxy Actives are the target device for watch applications. So next update is we support latest Xamarin.Forms 4.0 in Tizen 5.5. I will leave the cool new features in Xamarin.Forms to the speak of David, because he's an expert in Xamarin. Okay. Last year, when I met developers, half of them brought MacBook to develop applications. And at that time, we didn't have support for Mac, for Tizen.net application. But this time, we finally add new Tizen extension for Visual Studio for Mac. So if you are a Mac user, now you can easily create Tizen.NET application. So next one is runtime enhancement. We adapted the latest .NET Core 3.0, and we have a team of engineers improving performance of launching time, also the memory usage. If you turn on the TV, you will see a first screen application on smart TV, and there are many other applications written in .NET on TV. So I'm getting a lot of requests to reduce the memory usage because those applications use the kind of plugin architecture, dynamically load DLLs, and when they are no longer in use, we should clean up the memory used by DLL. Those features was not supported in the previous .NET runtime, but in .NET Core 3.0, it supports unloading DLLs, so we can now free up more memories more easily, and there is more launching time optimization with tiered compilation, and that is the scope of .NET Core 3.0. And also, we added many new features to improve the performance. For example, preloading and heavy pre-initialization to reduce launching time, and also caching nuggets for Xamarin applications. With all this effort, we reduced 48% of launching time and also 20% of memory usage compared to runtime in current Galaxy Watches. So because of this memory optimization, now we can support Xamarin.Forms widget model in Circular UI 1.4. The widgets are things you can see on Galaxy Watch device. If you swipe to right, there's a single screen showing for each apps. This kind of summary that's always accessible. Because we optimize a lot in our runtime, so now we are supporting this widget model using Xamarin.Forms. And we are adding 2 more widgets, video view and map view in Xamarin.Forms, Tizen Circular UI controls for Xamarin applications. And now we are officially releasing Tizen FX version 6, have all the new C# APIs. APIs like a new RPC port or privacy privilege manager or ML API. They are all scope of Tizen FX, so please check the website for new APIs. We are adding more developer references, samples, and blog. So whenever we get something from feedback from third-party developer, if it is general information, we are keep updating this blog in Tizen.NET portal. Also, there are other resources. For example, Tizen School, it has tons of fun stuff. And also, there are official Tizen sample GitHub. So please check this website. The last one is about SAP API in C#. SAP is the API you need for a companion application to communicate between mobile and watches. So we added this C# API some time ago, but there was no kind of chance to tell you about it. So if you follow the guidelines how to use SAP API, even though it has some learning curve, you can easily create this application. So, and these are the references. So this is the end of Tizen 5.5 update, and we are keep working on for Tizen 6.0 to give you what we are working on at Samsung Research. We are trying to add more easier companion APIs, and we are adding more support for neural network model. And also we are adding more tools in Tizen.NET, such as template wizard, XAML previewer. So all this cool stuff is coming in Tizen 6.0, so hopefully see you next year. Thank you. So please welcome David from Microsoft.
Thank you. How's everybody doing? Good? How many of you know what Xamarin is? Raise your hand. Everybody in the room. All right, no, but everybody didn't raise their hand. So who doesn't know what Xamarin is? All right, a couple of you. You're in for a treat. I'm not going to tell you what Xamarin is, but you'll have to guess. No. So I'm obviously a different style of speaker. I like to have fun, and I tend to ramble and tell stories. If you want to follow me, that's my Twitter handle. I've been doing live streaming on Twitch. So I am a principal program manager at Microsoft. So what that means is that I'm primarily working with developers to understand what are you building? How can we help you do more at what you're doing, whether it's Visual Studio tooling or whether it's in the .NET framework aspect of things. So Xamarin is your cross-platform .NET. We've been doing cross-platform crazy things with .NET since before we were acquired by Microsoft about 3.5 years ago. So we were always taking your .NET code to, for example, the PlayStation, or to the Xbox, or to Android and iOS, and any other embedded scenarios you can imagine. I did do some product research before I came in here, AKA I sat in that massage chair. And I highly recommend it. It's the best Tizen.NET massage I've ever received. So check that out. Okay. Let's get to some announcements. So what I love about .NET, and what I imagine many of you, if you're doing .NET, you love, is it enables you and empowers you to reach all these different places. So when you go to your customer or to your boss and you say, hey, what are we going to use to build X, Y, Z? We don't know if we're going to ever go to Z, but we definitely need X and Y. .NET is a great thing to set you up for that scenario, right? .NET gives you best class tools with Visual Studio, compiler, debugger, memory management, all those wonderful things, async and await. C# is a wonderful language. Oh, I scared him away. Bye, man. See you later. It happens. Oh, 2. No, I'm just kidding. Sometimes you gotta go. So here's what's happening in .NET land. .NET 5 is coming, and that animation happened really fast, so I'm gonna back this up. So this is what you have like today, right? It's like, okay, am I using .NET Core? Am I using .NET Framework? What is this mono thing that people randomly talk about? They're like, mono, they're the crazy people out there. So what this means is that with .NET 5, we're bringing all this stuff together, so you as developers don't need to continue worrying about what's framework, what APIs are available where. You just write your application and .NET takes care of the rest. So what this means is that all these things are essentially being merged. The teams are working much more closely together. You know, now that Xamarin is part of Microsoft, again, for 3.5 years, the teams are working tightly together. This means that your Mac, your Windows, your Linux, your Android, your iOS, your Tizen, all this .NET runtime works together, and they use the same BCL. It's going to all use the same SDK-style projects. It's all going to use the same build tool pipeline, okay? So tons of improvements will benefit everybody. Your build time should get faster, your run time should get faster, all this wonderful stuff. Sound good? Sound slightly less confusing? All right, so when can you get your grubby little developer hands on these things? So we just announced this at .NET Conf a few weeks ago. And in November, next month, you'll get .NET Core 3.1, which is the LTS, long-term support version, right? So when your boss says, oh, well, is this ever going to be around? That version will be around, and it will continue to be supported for a long time. Moving on from then, in November of next year is when we expect to ship .NET 5. And you can see that .NET 6, .NET 7, it's a much more predictable pattern. Every November, you get a new .NET. And language version releases will be connected to those .NET releases. So it's that one date, and when we iterate on .NET, you're getting a new C#. Cool? So it looks like this. In this new world where you want to target all of these beautiful things, you get the wonderful suite of Visual Studio tools, and I was excited to see that we now have a plugin for Tizen.NET in Visual Studio for Mac. You now have a Tizen for Web plugin, right, for Visual Studio Code, which is great. Love some VS Code. Any VS Code users in the room? Couple? All right, cool. All right, Mac versus Windows. Mac? All right, it's about maybe a third. Windows. And I'll ask Linux. All right, those are the cool kids, right? But are you running Linux on that Mac right there? Yeah, you are? Nice. All right, cool. So let's talk a little bit about Xamarin.Forms. And I didn't know if Xamarin.Forms would be something that would be terribly interesting to you. How many are using Xamarin.Forms or have ever used Xamarin.Forms? Okay, so it's actually been around for about close to 5 years now. I've been with the team for about 3 years. And over the past 3 years, we've seen tremendous adoption in the platform. It is by far the fastest growing aspect of Xamarin development. It's outpacing the market trend of mobile developer adoption, which is great. And satisfaction has never been higher because we're actually listening to developers and building the things that you need. So if you have needs, please reach out to me. If you have complaints, reach out to me. I'm the one, not the only one, but I'm definitely one because I need to know that so that we can prioritize the work appropriately. So here's what we have been working on. Shell. Shell is all about optimizing your startup of your application. So when you go file, new, boom, here's your app. With Shell, that's all you get. You don't need to worry about, okay, do I need a navigation page? What is the navigation paradigm? What's this pushing and popping thing all about? Do I need to have tabs, and how do I create tabs? If you've ever looked at those templates, it's quite complicated because they actually mirror the Android and the iOS new templates. So we're taking the same patterns and using them, whereas Shell says, let's simplify all of this stuff. You get a flyout, or you can have bottom tabs, or you can have top tabs, or you can actually have a combination of all of them, and then you can navigate with URI routing. URI routing is a very popular way to push to any segment within your application and not worry about the backstack if you don't want to, but if you need to worry about the backstack, you can do that. If you want more information about Shell and all the details about that, feel free to go to the documentation. You can follow me on Twitch. We're continually putting out resources and samples. Visual. So I actually went and talked to the One UI 2 team about what they're doing with the new design language, because that's very interesting. So what we've done with Visual, and I think One UI could be a really cool tie-in here, is that we took the material design components from Google and we made them available inside of Xamarin.Forms. So if you have a button and you're like, you know what, I want my button to look the same both on iOS and Android, you can use material to achieve that. So it essentially overrides not only the look of the buttons in Xamarin.Forms, but it overrides the behavior as well, and produces that consistent look and feel that you might expect or want across iOS and Android. The same visual API can be used for One UI. I just started a project where I'm doing it for Fabric, which is the iOS and Android library from the Office UI team at Microsoft, using the Fluent design system. Collection view, brand new control, highly optimized, does infinite batch loading, tells you the threshold of items remaining, things like that. Has a whole wonderful set of new features built on modern controls. Carousel view, I heard from a customer recently that they don't remember the last time that they built an app that didn't have a carousel view in it. So there you go, carousel views in the box. Refresh view, anything that's scrollable, anything that you need to be able to load content into, you can nest inside of a refresh view and you're off and away. Swipe view for those context actions, really cool GIF right now. It's a Pokemon example up on Twitter from Javier Suarez Ruiz. You know, if you want to speak developer language, you got to speak some Pokemon, right? So, you know, it's that swipe action where you get the context actions, whether you're deleting or doing something different with it. Indicator view for whether you want dots or you want hearts or you want hashtags, I don't know, whatever, for when you have multiple items. And then hundreds of other enhancements to the whole toolkit. Because what we were hearing a lot was, this is great, but all the productivity I gained from choosing a cross-platform solution, I lose by having to go into the lower layers. You know, if you choose circular UI, but then you end up writing a bunch of Tizen renderer code, that kind of, you start to lose some of the benefits you're getting. So lots of enhancements there. All right. I think I've got about 5 minutes left. Is that right? Yes? Nobody's going to contradict me? So what's happening? What's coming down the road? 4.3 just shipped last week. Yeah, last week. Yeah, that sounds right. 4.4 should be previewing this week. And then we'll be going stable in the next month and a half or so. Tons of community contributions. Oh, Hacktoberfest. Anybody participate in Hacktoberfest? Did you know you could have gotten a free t-shirt for doing open source software? Free t-shirt. And if you did it for Xamarin, you could have gotten stickers. You could have gotten a glass trophy if you did 10 awesome PRs. You got, what, 2 days left. 2 days left. So open source that thing. So what Hacktoberfest is, it's an open source thing. You get t-shirts as a free giveaway thing. The community contributions for the Xamarin repositories has been out of this world. 164, I believe, is what I heard last night, which is like, I want to say like 3 times what we normally get in a month. And we have an active community of contributors, so that's wonderful. All right, so shell and material and radio button, all these kinds of things are being improved. Radio button will be a brand new control, which kind of sets the stage for introducing new controls that are not necessarily on Android and iOS and Windows and other platforms. We can go ahead and release new controls. And then beyond that, native support for dark mode, high contrast mode, accessibility modes, semantic colors, which is part of what iOS just shipped with iOS 13, navigation bar templating, all these productivity things driven by customer feedback. So if there's something that's not on here and you're like, why haven't they done this? Please talk to me. Please tell me, because until I hear it from you, I don't know to go looking and digging around to see if maybe other customers are frustrated by that too. And I love to do that. So a couple visual examples here. Shell, again, you get the flyout, you get bottom tabs and top tabs. Any combination of those things, super easy to do. I've got examples that show you the code. It's like so little code, you almost will feel bad about being paid to write it. It's just, right? No, you won't feel bad about being paid. Recently had a community contribution that adds shell supports to UWP. So that's nice, and we'll be improving that and doing bug fixes there. This is one of my weather examples. There's a beautiful weather example on the refrigerator over at the Tizen booth, as well as on my watch that demonstrates the Stanley Cup for my St. Louis Blues hockey team. Hockey fans in the room? Anybody? No? No hockey fan? One hockey fan. Collection view, you can see that you can do vertical, you can do grids, you can do horizontal scrolls, you can do a combination of grids and horizontal scrolls. Super flexible, much more performant and flexible than the list view control, which it essentially aims to deprecate. Also the carousel view supports this on UWP. And then this, I love this screen because there's just so many cool things on this screen, right? You've got carousels everywhere. You've got parallax animations. You've got peaking. It's just, you know, this is not the Xamarin.Forms you might have used 2 or 3 years ago. This is much more powerful, much more performant. The animation library is fantastic. And this was only a few of the examples that I could show you. And I wanted to mention, you know, we were having a conversation earlier and about, I was speaking to one of the large, it's an airline, okay? Just imagine one of the biggest airlines you can imagine. And they use Xamarin. And we asked them, hey, you know, what are you using for your consumer app, the app that everybody's aware of, right, that everybody sees? And they said, well, we're using Swift and Objective-C in native languages. And we said, well, is there a reason you're not using Xamarin? And they said, well, we use Xamarin for over 16 of our internal apps, which are business critical. Why would you worry about that one consumer app when you have you have 99% of our whole mobile business over here doing .NET, and we're super happy with it. And I thought that was just, while these are really cool examples to look at and go, oh, that's amazing what Xamarin can do, those business critical or dark apps that nobody ever sees, but I get to see because I get to go in and talk to them. It's really great, the adoption. Like I said, that Xamarin adoption is growing, and .NET has really never been more attractive and more used widely in the world. So very cool stuff. I'm very interested in this. Has anybody gone and looked at the Fold? You played with the Fold? Fold's cool. Yeah, you played with the Fold. They actually let me touch it. I was surprised. I thought because they had the white gloves on, I thought they looked scary. I didn't know if it was going to work out. But there are so many cool things coming. These devices, if you've noticed, Surface released 2 new devices, multi-screen devices. And if you're going to target these, and you need a UI framework that can do all these different things, Xamarin.Forms is very well positioned to support all of those. And then, before I leave stage, I want to give a huge shout out to the Tizen team for all the .NET work they do. They're an awesome collaborator and contributor back into the Xamarin projects, all open source on GitHub. They do amazing things, whether it's Xamarin.Forms, Essentials, all the sample libraries and solutions that are out there are just awesome. So from the bottom of my heart, I want to say thank you to the Tizen team, to the Samsung organization. Thank you for having me on stage. And now that I've outdid something, my welcome, Diego is going to come do some live coding with a jump onto the stage. 10 points. There you go.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
So it's kind of funny that David, he mentioned Pokemon, because really like the live coding part that I was going to have, the idea was to start with that. I was going to try to create a Pokédex in front of you. I figured out that in 10 minutes or 8, I don't even know, I can see from here how much I have. I don't think I'm going to be able to do that, so I'm just going to focus on one feature that we can do in the next few minutes, and pretty much it's around vessel interaction. So why vessel? Pretty much because the vessel is one of those features that the Galaxy Watch has that differentiates from some of the other ones that you see in the market, some of the other smartwatches that you may have. So let's see if this works. So the challenge originally was create a Pokédex in front of you, which I'm not going to do, and see how many errors I can throw in 8 minutes. So that still is a challenge. So let's go with, let's create a file, new project. At this point, then we have to pick, obviously, our Tizen one. So I'm going to go for Xamarin.Forms. We have to name it. So, of course, just make it a little bit easier, we're going to say SDC19. So here, in this particular case, I could have gone mobile, TV, and all that, but I'm just going to go for wearable. That is what I'm trying to do at this moment. So it's going to create a project. It's going to be just a small template. There you go. So it opens several things that I could modify here, but I'm not going to use all of this. I'm actually going to cheat a little bit to try to keep on time. And I'm just going to modify directly the app file. So, well, it looks quite big, so that's good. So you guys have a good idea of what I'm doing. So what is it that I'm going to try to do here? I'm going to add a small label, and then we're going to capture the interaction with the vessel. And then the label, I'm just going to show you if it's going clockwise, counterclockwise, and then we're going to call it a day. The idea for the Pokédex is that you are going to call the Poke API, that is a third-party API, of course, and then with the vessel, we're going to go through the list of all the available Pokemon. So, knowing what is it that you guys have here, come on, there you go. So, around here, I'm going to add a label. Yes. So, label. I'm going to be incredibly original. I'm going to call it label. Yeah, you cannot really tell me that I'm not trying really hard. So label, and we're going to try to create, obviously, a new label, of course. And in this case, I'm going to, no. Add a couple of features to my label that are, it's nothing really complicated. So we're going to start with the text, of course. And in this case, what I'm going to do is, hello, SDC19. Let's put it like that. And this is not what I wanted. I wanted this. And then we're going to add a horizontal options. That could be the layout options. That's the one. Yes, layout options and center. Perfect. So if, and then the second part that I have to do is right now is adding this main page. So this is not what I want to do. It's the one that is added by default. So I'm going to just, yes. So new content page, yes. I'm a little bit paranoid of closing and opening and closing everything that I do. So content, we're going to do a new stock layout here. And with this one, I can open and close. And of course, my indentation is going all highwire, which is not what I want. And then vertical options. I think I'm missing something. Gosh. Okay. 22, no, that's not the one. This one, comma. Oh, okay, there you go. So that's why. Should have looked at that before. So we have content, so then we're going to get the vertical options, and this should be the layout options again. Layout options, and center, yes, and then comma, and this one, I'm just going to say that the children that we're going to have here are going to be there, and then we're going to put our label. So just because I made a mistake, let's see if this thing starts. So we will see. So first thing, I already had the emulator running. I'm going to build it really quick just in case. And if that builds, so no errors, thank you. And we're going to go there really quick. So in case that you haven't seen the Tizen emulator for the watch, this is what you have. So we haven't done anything incredible. Now, the thing that we have to do right now is to call a dependency service. So the entire thing with that is that, of course, the vessel, like I mentioned, that's a native feature that is not, that we have to implement. So to do that, I'm going to have to create a small interface, and then we're going to implement it. So the first thing that I'm going to do is to create two folders. So add a folder. So this one, I'm going to call it, I had names for that. Well, I could have done that. Okay. Interfaces here, and then on this one, I'm going to call services. New folder, services, and over here, under the main page, what I should do is to have dependency service, okay, get, I'm missing some libraries, right? Of course. How am I doing on time? Okay, so then I'm going to cheat because I think according to my watch, I have 1 minute. I'm not going to be able to finish this, but I was already prepared for this. Yes, that's what you do. So I already have all the files created. So I'm just going to do a lot of copy pasting. So, yeah, well, there you go. So the only thing that I was missing here is pretty much just kind of like adding the dependency service, and then I'm going to save this. I have to create two files that we are going to call, so in the services, it's going to be the iRotary service. I think the I would be great if it's and .cs. And then I'm going to just copy paste on that one. And in the services should be the implementation for that one. That is, should be just Rotary service. Rotary service.cs. Okay, so we have those two. What I should have done, obviously, is to fill that with you guys, but then since I already have them here, yeah, you see, I'm prepared for these things. I'm going to just replace it, and then I'm going to explain real quick what is it that I did, which is not really that complicated, but okay. So pretty much, this one is a public interface that is just going to tell you that it has an event handler to be able to detect whenever I move the vessel in the watch. Then in Rotary service, what I'm having here is implementing that interface. And I'm just kind of like saying, hey, whenever there is a rotation change, then invoke the correct one and ask if it's moving clockwise or not. So that's perfect. The other two things that I always forget is to be able to register the dependency service like this class. So we know that that implementation is right there. So and in runtime is going to be able to find it. And then in our app XML, at the end, I was adding the method that was really taking care of detecting which direction the vessel is being moved. So we have already in which direction. We ask if it's clockwise or counterclockwise. And if this thing builds, it's going to be a miracle. And which it built. And then in our emulator, should deploy it. So we have the same thing here, and we should be able to detect in which direction I'm moving the vessel. So pretty much the next step, that is the part that obviously I'm not going to show here because I'm totally out of time, as far as I can tell. And it was just to make the API call to PokeDot API, and then you would be able to get information from the different Pokemon. And with the vessel interaction, you would be able to move through the list of Pokemon that you are displaying. So you could display them all at once, or you could display them one by one, or try to filter by type or something like that, which is really the sample that I'm going to be finishing in the next couple of weeks, I hope, and is going to go on GitHub so you can use it. And I'm going to be creating it for a web app. That one is a little bit more advanced, and this one also for Tizen.net, so you guys can share that. And I think with that, I should be able to go to live coding. That was the live coding. I was going to tell you a lot about this, but that's not it. So I'm going to leave it with this slide that really gets you a QR code. So in case that you don't have the URL to get information about that Tizen.net, you guys can take a picture of that one and visit our developer site. And if you have any other questions, just go to the developer program. So it's developer.samsung.net. We have a lot of resources there. You can get in touch with a lot of the team from HQ and also here based in the US. And we are going to try to help you to make the best Tizen applications that you can make. And that's pretty much it from me. So I still see someone taking pictures. If not, then I think, yeah, that was gold. Blah, 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 Q&A, and if you also, at the end, rate your session, please go ahead and rate it. That's it.